Today's episode is one that is close to my heart and one in which I get a little vulnerable, and so does my guest. And it's super close to my heart because I'm interviewing my husband, Derek Fredrickson, on this episode of the Fabienne Show. Let me take you back 16 years in my business. As you know, I've been a business coach for 25 years. I help women grow and scale their businesses. And my jam, my sweet spot is getting women from being overwhelmed at six figures to scaling their business with more ease to multiple six figures and seven figures with their life back, with 14 weeks of unplugged vacations per year, with more time off to be with their kids, to travel. And the way that I've done that is to stop being the bottleneck in my company and to reach out and get help running the business with the right operations, with the right systems. And I didn't have to look far further than my own marriage, my own bed. I know that sounds funny to say, but I brought on Derek Fredrickson to run the operations of my business 16 years ago. And while I had already taken my business to seven figures on my own, it was holding on by toothpicks and Band-Aids. And as you'll hear from this interview, there is a definitive process of how you go from overwhelmed to scaling your business with ease to the point where you could sell your business for millions down the road when you've brought on the right trusted COO. And you might think, I don't need that right now. I don't need that ever. I thought that too. Every single client of Boldheart that I've taken to over $1 million in their business, we brought on a fractional COO. And you may not know what a fractional COO does. And you may think, I don't need this now. I can't afford this now. But you'd be surprised after listening to this interview, how you might start thinking differently, because it is one of the fastest paths to creating a business that can scale and grow and become a self-managing business that gives you your life back, that gives you your time back, where you make so much more money and impact more people. So if you're listening to this and have your own business, I want you to listen really intently to the recommendations that Derek makes, to the story of my own business and the people that he's helped. He's launched an agency, a fractional COO agency, to affordably help women who have businesses just like you, who might be overwhelmed in the bottleneck and they dream of growing to the next big level, but they're stuck. And I want you to go, even before you listen to the episode, if you're in the place to do so, not if you're driving, but you can go to thecoosolution.com. That's his website, and take the assessment that he offers. It's just a few questions, and the assessment will help you get some insight as to whether or not this is the right time for you to bring on a high value, trusted fractional COO to help you with your systems. I believe it's never too early. And the sooner you do, the sooner you can create processes for your business and start to free yourself. So again, that's thecoosolution.com. Go take the assessment and then enjoy this episode. I hope you love it. Hello and welcome back to the Fabienne Show. I have a special guest with me today, and I have to say I'm a little bit nervous to be recording this episode because my special guest is everything to me on so many levels. This guest is the reason why my life is the way it is today on different levels. If you are watching this, you can tell that I have Derek Fredrickson on the line today. Hello, Derek.
Hi.
Hi. As you may notice, we have the same last name. If you're familiar with Derek, he is my husband of, how many years?
22.
We've also been working together for 16 years, and I'm delighted to have you here. I remember when Michelle Obama started her podcast, she had Barack Obama as her first guest. And
oh, really? Oh, my God.
Yeah, and here you are. So Hey, Derek.
Hi, I have big shoes to fill then.
So I've invited you to come onto the podcast because the Fabienne show is for the entrepreneurial woman who wants it all. The person who wants to grow her business, her impact, what she pays herself, how she changes the world, but she also wants a delicious life. She wants more freedom, more time to be with the people that she loves. All of that has been true in my life because of your help.
Hmm.
Now, before I invite you to, well, actually, would you like to just introduce yourself? I'm a little bit nervous. I know how to do this with other people, just not you. I think I'm going to let you talk now.
No, I think it's fine. I'm a little nervous too, because even though we've been working together for over 16 years now, which is incredible on so many levels, talking about it in this way is something that we don't do very often, even though a lot of people think that because we work together, we live together, we're husband and wife, we're parents, that this just comes naturally. But I think we've been on this journey for 16 years in developing our delicious life. Me showing up for you and you showing up for me. I wouldn't be who I am today and doing the things that I'm doing without your love, your support, your coaching, your dedication to see a bigger future for myself. So I think it's time that we talk about this and share this a bit more
Yeah.
openly. I'm excited about it.
So am I. I already have a little tear in my eye. Everything that you just said about me for you, what I've received from you, and want to share with the listeners of the Fabienne show the story of my business. If you're listening to this, you may have been following me for a while and you know that I've been in business for 25 years. I went from I don't have enough clients to creating the client attraction system. That's what I became known for. It's what got me to six figures many years ago. Then I moved on to multiple six figures and eventually seven figures with a team of virtual assistants, with an online business manager. But if I have to be honest, you were there to witness this while you were
Mhm.
still working in corporate, Derek. I
Yeah.
reached that seven figure mark, the $1 million. Never thought I would. We had two little kids at home. I wasn't yet pregnant with our third. And while the business was at seven figures, it was hanging on by toothpicks and band aids. And you and I had a conversation once I reached seven figures that perhaps you would leave Wall Street and come run the operations, the systems, and help me run this business.
Mm.
And we decided to do that. That was more than 16 years ago. Since then, I want you to explain what you've been able to do here and what you now do for
Mm.
other women entrepreneurs. But because of your help, Boldheart has generated close to $50 million
Wow.
since inception. It is in large part because of you. So I just want to thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. In the beginning, as you remember, we were figuring this out as we were doing it, right? We had never worked together. We had talked about working together. All of a sudden, here we were working together and not entirely clear at the time how to make that happen. There weren't a lot of people that were in our industry that we could look up the ladder to that had a successful marriage and relationship as well as a business partnership. To be honest, there were some bumpy paths in the beginning as we figured out what my unique brilliance was, what my strengths were, honoring your unique brilliance and what your strengths were. And then over time, it really aligned itself where we could work really, really well. It sometimes felt like 1+1 = 3 because we had invested interest in not just the company's success, but our own individual success within the business. It really provided a lot of traction, a lot of momentum. I came in not knowing much about your business. I didn't know much about business coaching, about entrepreneurship. I had a career in Wall Street doing project management, technology, and finance and things that just seem such like a distant memory now. But I was able to bring the good of that, how to work with teams, how to develop relationships with people and manage projects, lead and manage and hold projects and people and plans accountable. I think being able to provide that to Boldheart laid that groundwork for us to continue to scale and leverage to what is now, I describe it as a very self-managing company. We have the right people in the right seats. We have processes for everything. We're process driven. We're not necessarily people driven. That doesn't mean we don't care about our people, but we've got such great process that people can do really, really good work. And as a result of that, you've been able to step out and explore more of what your passions are around the theme of your own kind of personal brand. And this podcast is an example. I've been stepping out to do the same type of work that I've been doing for Boldheart and now provide that fractionally for other clients over the last, it's been 5 years now. I'm launching my agency and that's out there and starting to build a team and get clients and do all the things that you teach in the program. I'm doing it now for myself and it's really exciting. Very, very exciting.
It had to come to a time where your brilliance was going to need to be shared with other people and not hoarded just by Boldheart. And so 5 years ago, a client came to you, somebody that you worked with at WeWork, and said, hey, can you do for me what you've been able to do for Boldheart? And 5 years ago, you started creating for him the processes, the systems, the methodologies, the team, the workflow, everything. He got his business to 7 figures, I believe, in the time that he worked with you. And now he's grown tremendously as a result of working with you. So your business is called the COO Solution. Why don't you talk about what it is that you've done for me over the course of the 16 years. The reason why I'm asking this is there are women who are listening to this right now. And whether they are at 6 figures or at 7 figures, no matter what, they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed, overworked, stretched too thin. Their business is leaking into their personal time. They're working evenings and weekends. They take their laptop on vacation and say one more email and mommy will be right there way too many times. So I feel like it's really important if we want a delicious life, if we want to get out of the day-to-day of the business to be able to scale and grow it, that we hear from you how you were able to do it for Boldheart and now how you do it for all of these other clients that are working with you privately and within your agency.
It's been an evolution. In the beginning, it was really understanding how the business works. I knew what we do, but I was really focused on how we do it. That's something that I think about even now with the work with my clients. We're focused on what we're doing and how we're doing it so that when we're improving how we're doing things, it runs like a well-oiled machine. We can scale that process. We can scale a system that works. You can't scale complexity. So when we've been able to build the business, scale it and grow it to the point where we have the right people in the right seats, we have a process on how we do everything. It just runs. Provides a lot of structure, which I know for some entrepreneurs is kind of like, I don't love structure because I like to have my freedom. I like to have my creativity and I like to adapt. And we all want that. And oftentimes we forget about the fact that when you have structure, you have that foundation, you can adapt, you can pivot, you can innovate and not have to reinvent the wheel because you have a process and a system on how things work. So being able to do that for Boldheart has been incredible. It's been something that I think has been a learning lesson for me, not just kind of cultivating that environment with the team and the structure, but also in the relationship that you and I have and how we work with each other. I often think about the fact that with entrepreneurial companies, we need to look at everybody in the organization as an asset, including the founder, including myself. And how do we leverage that asset in order to generate a really strong return on that investment? Oftentimes with the founder, the CEO, getting them out of the weeds, getting them out of that day-to-day, putting out fires, kind of like whack-a-moling, problem-solving things that are just draining their energy, pulling their time and effort away from the things that really should be their focus so that they can think big and come up with the ideas and generate the vision. I often say it's the role of the entrepreneur to make it up. It's the role of myself and an organization to make it real. With the team, we make it recur. So when a visionary or a founder or CEO can think in that space and understand that they actually aren't helping their business when they're trying to run their business, if they are operating their business, they are costing their business money. I've seen that. And I know our clients at Boldheart have seen that because so many of them have come to you or have come to me and said, Derek, Fabienne, I'm looking at what you've done with Boldheart. I need a Derek, right? I need a person to do for my company what Derek has done for you, Fabienne, and for Boldheart. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years in a number of different industries and a number of different companies of different sizes, different industries. It's not just one particular sector. It's really taking all that I've learned, and again, with your help and support and loving coaching, providing this framework of my own USP, my own system on how I do what I do. I've really enjoyed that. I enjoy the strategy work. I love the work with the visionary, the founder, to execute on that vision, to reverse engineer the plan, and then also to have the trust and the faith and the confidence from that founder, that entrepreneur, that I've got it. I can take care of it with the team. I can take care of the project. You can trust me to deliver. As you know, one of my strengths is responsibility. I take ownership. And that's one of the things that I take personally to myself. I also instill that into the teams that I work with. So we create this self-accountability mindset, or a culture of this is how we do things around here, that works really well.
If you're listening to this, we have a program at Boldheart that is called the Leveraged Business. It's for women at six figures. Every once in a while, a great guy comes in, but it's really mostly for women at six figures, multiple six figures, who want to get to seven figures, but they can't seem to get there because they have their hand in everything. And there is this element of, if I let go, I won't be able to trust that it will get done. I don't know if I can trust my team to run the company and trust that everything will get done. For me, from the very beginning of us working together, I have been grateful to be able to trust you, not solely because you are my husband, but because you are walking trust. You are the embodiment of the trust. All of the assessments that you've taken have said that you're the quiet force, the rock, as I like to call it. You are the string to my kite, not just with me, but I've seen you do this over the years with all of the clients, and now with the clients within your agency. One of the biggest things is people don't want to scale because they don't feel like they can trust at a deep core level someone else to run their business for them and with them. But here you come in and you've built these trusted systems that you've been working with me for years, and all these other clients for years. You also have this trusted team. I want you to talk about your process for bringing your agency team and through the angle of trust. Would you share that? Because I think it's really important to people like us, me, and other entrepreneurial women to be able to let go.
And I've never taken it for granted. People may think that that's not true because we're husband and wife, but I can tell you for certainty that that would have been, I think, a recipe for, I'm just saying recipe for disaster, sounding all serious.
I've seen it be a disaster for other women who've worked with their spouses, where the trust got eroded. And not only are they no longer in business together, they're not married anymore.
You're right. We've seen that, where they take it for granted just because they're husband and wife means that's just because we can also work together. And that's clearly not the case. Having that be a fundamental understanding, to understand that you have your role and what your responsibilities are. I have my role, I have my responsibilities. Just because we happen to sleep in the same bed together at the end of the day and parent our children together and have dinner, it doesn't necessarily mean that we take that for granted, that you can just have that. It's something that needs to be earned. I've learned that because I've had to do that with the other clients that I've worked with. I can't come in and say, I want to hire you as a fractional COO because I trust Fabienne. But I think I need to earn that trust. That's important for me because it is a core value of mine. So it's been very interesting that I need to earn the trust from the women entrepreneurs that I work with. And then I also need to have the people that work with me earn that trust. And again, I don't want them to take that for granted just because they may have years of experience as a COO or they've run companies before. It's something where I need to feel just as much as I need to think, and I'm a very logical person. I need to feel that I can trust this person to allow them to step in with my guidance and support and collaboration to support these clients who need our help. Since launching this agency, I've reached out on LinkedIn, I've reached out to my network, and things kind of went viral. It was really interesting. I posted one thing on LinkedIn about I'm looking for those that could be interested in an opportunity to partner with me as part of my fractional COO agency. There were a lot of people that were interested, which was great. I went through a very specific process to speak to the right people just to make sure.
People go through so many hoops.
I know. And some weren't so happy about it, but I wanted to honor my time and honor their time and make sure that, listen, if we're going to invest the time, energy, and effort to see if this is worthwhile, let's make sure that it's a possible fit. I say fit for you, fit for me. And so I had them fill out a survey. I would have multiple discussions with them. A lot of people found me organically through word of mouth or whatever it may be. At the end of the day, the people that I spoke to that I knew that I wanted to bring on board, it was all a matter of trust. The reason why is because they got to that point because, yes, they had the experience, they have the expertise, they have the skill set, they have the wiring, they have the mindset, they have the assessments. They all tick the boxes. But at the end of the day, it's this feeling, whether it's in hiring people from my agency now, or even if I hire with clients for team, I always want to make sure that I feel good about that decision and I want them to feel good about it. So I always say, are there any reservations? Do you have any doubts? Are there any questions? I want to make sure that we are setting this up for the most successful it can be and removing any doubt or any misunderstandings or reservations. And so the people that I've got on board are amazing. I think I said to you, the first person I spoke to, I said, there's nothing I don't love about you because everything at that point just worked. Yeah. So it's been really exciting to go on that journey.
I've talked to other people who have fractional COO agencies in the past. The vibe that I got was that they were more like a recruitment agency. Mm-hmm. You want something? Let me get you somebody, slap it together. Then they were Elvis. They were out the door. Elvis has left the building. I didn't get a really good vibe from that. What I really appreciate about you is your deep care, your integrity. People may not know this, but I know your assessments, right? I know how you're wired, and obviously you know how I'm wired because you and I, in work and personal, have taken a whole bunch of assessments. I know that you are consistent. You are responsible. You are analytical. Responsibility is a big driver for you, whereby I didn't feel that with other agencies that I talked to. And I talked to several of them, not just for myself, but some of our clients. And they'll just put somebody good who can do the work, but there isn't this investment that I see in you with your clients. And so I really appreciate that you're involved, that you care. Sometimes you shared with me some of the interviews that you had with people as you were hiring for your agency. There were some people who came in with big egos and didn't want to do the process. You'd ask them a question, they'd bypass that and try to tell you, rah, rah, rah. You were like, yeah. Thanks, dude.
Thanks for playing. Yeah.
Thanks for playing. Next.
Well, I wanted them to go through a process for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted them to go through a process because what we provide, the value is in the process. It's not just what we do, it's how we do it. If I have somebody coming in that is outside the lane of what I have as my process that I use with my clients, and I'm using this recruitment period as an example of that, then how can I trust you to show up with my clients and provide value and generate that return on the investment that the client is investing in me and my COO partner if you're outside the lane, if you're reinventing the wheel, if you're making things up on the fly? They don't trust making things up on the fly. They trust reliability. They trust responsibility. They trust the system in place that will generate the result. And so it was interesting when I was speaking to some people and they were just not going about it in the way that I had intended. And that's fine, but this is not the place for me because the work that we do, meaning my agency and myself with my clients, it's a collaboration. It's a we. It's not, hey, great, you need a fractional COO. Here's Susan. Here's Tommy. Here's Melody, whatever it might be. They're buying into the solution. They're buying into the understanding that we are going to generate a result. And I want to feel invested in that because I care, because I'm committed. And also, if I'm being totally transparent, and this is what you teach in Leverage, I'm leveraging myself, right? I've been doing this now for 5-6 years. I can do it in my sleep. Give me any client. I know what to do and how to do it. I have my framework. I have my process. I have my steps. And now I'm trusting that and passing that credibility and that trust to somebody else to do it with me. So I need to make sure that they tick all the boxes. This is not just great. Here's a new client, go to it. We're doing this together.
For those listening, what is the COO solution? The woman who's listening is, like I mentioned, she's probably at multiple six figures. She's overwhelmed, stretched thin. Why bring in a fractional COO? What does the COO solution involve exactly?
Sure.
That will help her scale to 7 figures, but with all this time back, being able to sleep at night, etc.
They're at that point, they hit a glass ceiling. They probably have done really, really well to a point, but they're now becoming so increasingly aware that they're pulled down into so many of the things that are draining their time, energy, and effort, and they don't know how to get out of that arrangement. They're having team in place, but they're not enjoying managing, leading, and holding them accountable. They have ideas, but they're often the ones that are trying to reverse engineer and figure out how do we take this from idea to solution. They're pulled into some areas of things that are not their zone of genius, right? Their unique brilliance. Maybe it's understanding like their financials. It's not managing a team. It's not understanding how to add more profit to their business. They know they need to be doing these things, but then when they find out they actually should not be doing those things, they need help from somebody who does those things for them. That's where we step in, because we provide that service across marketing, sales, operations, and finance. And no matter what business you have, those are your functions of a company: marketing, sales, operations, and finance. I often say team is the layer that spreads across all of them, because you need team in marketing, sales, and operations and finance. So they may have put together a structure of a team where they don't have people aligned in the right seats. People are unclear in their responsibilities. There might be some redundancy. There might be some complexity. So the owner is often not focused on the vision. They're focused on running the business. And that's taking away from their time to actually come up with the big ideas and come up with the big vision. So like I said, they make it up, we make it real, and then with the team, we make it recur. And we do that with other things that are very much more the kind of structured way of creating these frameworks. We use dashboards, we use KPIs, we use sophisticated for project management tools. I say sophisticated, meaning we come in with solutions on how to build and manage projects. It's not like it's a complex system, but it works for teams.
What I want to underline is it's complex and complicated in how it works, but the owner, the visionary, the founder of the company, it's not more complex. It actually makes the owner's life easier.
Exactly. They know because they can see the outputs of projects that are moving ahead. We're getting traction. Things are being implemented. Also, I get that from a marketing and a sales perspective, or really from an organizational perspective, I want them to see that return on investment. So when we come in, we have a process where we are very clear in the first 30, 60, 90 days. What are our objectives? What are the deliverables? What is the expectation of you with us, and also from us with you and your team? So we're very, very clear. We often start on what I call the same page. So we're aligned in the vision, we're aligned in the plan, we're aligned in the execution in terms of what it looks like. But then they trust us in order to reverse engineer and make that happen. But knowing that I want to add value, I want to provide that return on investment because they're investing in me, and I know that they could be investing in other solutions. So I want to provide value and I want to provide that transformation.
What I really appreciate that you do with your clients, and you did that with me 16 years ago, is the first day, it was like orientation. Remember, I had my clipboard, my tea, your coffee. We went down to the beach down the street and we're like, okay, it's Derek's first day at Boldheart. And the number one thing that you ended up working on was a way to bring in money so you could pay for yourself almost immediately. And within, I think, just a couple of months, Boldheart was making an additional $10K a month because you zeroed in on where's the money on the table that will pay for my involvement in the company. I've just seen you do this with a couple of your agency clients where you start, you've got your 30, 60, 90 day, but you're looking for how can COO solutions pay for themselves right off the bat. And I really appreciate that because it can feel like a leap of faith to
Sure.
bring on somebody to help you grow your business. You're thinking, oh no, not now, maybe in a year. And it
Yeah.
costs too much. But I appreciate two things. I appreciate how affordable you've made it. When to work with you privately is expensive, but to work with you and your team in the agency where people get you and your team is
Yeah.
really affordable. Secondly, I appreciate how you have a big focus on immediate return on investment within the first 3 months.
And I often say that's really the reason why I'm doing this now, is because I'm not afraid to say it. I've outpriced myself in the market and I don't have enough of me to go around. So I can't keep working one-on-one with these clients. So it was inevitable. I needed to find a leveraged solution in order to share what I do and how I do it with people that are wired like me. They think like me. Their assessments are like mine. They just get the idea.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that ROI, it comes from seeing because they're not getting, right? They're investing in a team member that perhaps they've never invested in at that level, right? This is not just somebody who's a project manager. It's not somebody who's looking at their operations. It's not somebody who's looking at their process and systems. It's not just a coach. It's a combination of everything. Really, it's that leader in their company that perhaps they've never invested in before. They may have invested in other team members that help in different silos, but never anybody who's that air traffic controller that can see everything, take responsibility for everything, and then be able to execute and implement to move things forward. So there is that ROI filter that I often look at. One of the biggest things that I like to do in the very, very beginning when we work with a client is to help them get their time back. Because one of the biggest things that's getting in the way of them growing their business and scaling and leverage is that they've kind of had to unwillingly step back into running the business. What usually happens is that they're in meetings they don't want to be involved with. They're doing tasks and activities that drain their energy, and they're not being able to focus on the things that are actually moving the needle forward. I'll give you an example. There was a client that I worked with where they spent, I think it was on Monday and Tuesday, they spent half of their Monday and Tuesday in team meetings. I remember asking this client on a scale of 1 to 10 for that 9 a.m. finance meeting that you had with your bookkeeper and your CFO or your controller, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like, I hate it. I love the team, but I hate that meeting. And 10 being like, I jump up out of bed on a Monday morning waiting for, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? They said, I'm a 1. And I said, so you're no longer doing that meeting anymore. There are other structures that we can put into place that give you the information that you need, also in the way that you want it. And you're still involved to make decisions, provide answers, give clarity, but that doesn't mean that you need to spend hours and hours in meetings that may work for the team, but don't work for you. This is your business. And then they spend so much time in email. They spend so much time in these other activities. So if I can give them their time back, you can go sit on the beach and eat bonbons, or you can reinvest that time back into the business. They're like, let's go, because I've got this renewed excitement. I'm not spending these time chunks and these activities that are costing the business the growth. Then they can be more productive, be more efficient and effective in what they do.
I really appreciate the fact that when you have a fractional COO, such as you guys on the team, you get back so many hours per day.
Mm-hmm.
So one, you no longer work on evenings and weekends because you guys are handling so many of the things that would have filled up the day.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it allows the owner, the founder of the company, to focus on that strategic exponential growth plan.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that you come in with this support and say, okay, so how are we going to grow your business exponentially? You have ideas, they have ideas, but then you bring the structure, the accountability, the leadership to actually take those ideas and bring them to fruition. I also appreciate what you mentioned a moment ago. It's like, you know me, I don't want to be in those meetings, finance meetings. I don't want the charts and the graphs. I just want the bottom line. Where's the opportunity for growth? Give me the bottom line so I can make marketing and sales and team decisions, as opposed to going through like graphs upon graphs upon charts that like just my eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
And you come in and you're like, oh, well, you, the business owner, the way you're wired, you want this type of information to be able to make a quick decision. I'm going to give it to
Yeah.
give you the information in the way that helps you, how do you say, a customized receiving of the information.
Yeah, I think it's a unique talent for people like me, other COOs that don't necessarily crave the spotlight. They're totally comfortable and confident and capable being that second in command. They enjoy it, right? Being able to work up with the entrepreneur and be able to have those conversations and to support them and coach them and strategize and be able to kind of see that vision with them. And then also be able to work down in a way. And I don't mean like down with the team, but you have to be able to then, okay, I've got it. I've received the idea. I received the vision. I see it in my head how we can make it happen. Now let me go at it with the team to make that the case. And that's where they get real excitement because they realize they don't need to be involved in that level of detail and execution. If there are things that they need to produce and do, that's totally fine. They're more than willing and able to do that. But because they've been kind of realigned in that entrepreneur seat in their company, they get more excitement. They get more confidence. That confidence allows them to come up with these new ideas and then the team that can make that happen. So I like being able to bridge the gap with both to get that download from that visionary, that entrepreneur, and then be able to execute and make that happen, with the team. It's exciting. I know it's not for everybody, but I love doing it.
I mean, essentially, that's what you used to do on Wall Street. You used to.
I know. That's what's so strange about it.
Translate it, give it to the developers and the coders. I know that there are some people who might be hearing this and saying, I'm not ready for this. Oh, maybe I can't afford this, or it's for me down the road. But I know that you have an assessment that you offer to owners, founders, and visionaries, even if they're just at maybe six figures or a little above six figures, also applicable for those who are at seven figures and beyond. Tell us about the assessment and what does it do?
So the assessment, it's at thecoosolution.com. You can go there and there's an assessment which is now the right time to consider bringing on a fractional COO. That assessment helps your entrepreneur clients, your visionaries, your entrepreneurs to understand is now the right time to get that level of support. What I'll share candidly is that there are a lot of people who want that level of support, but they may not need that level of support. And that's what that assessment helps determine, because there might be some people listening where you need a Derek or a version of a Derek, or you need a fractional COO. What I mean by fractional, that doesn't mean that it varies. There are different options that are available depending on how much support and at what scale and what timeline, right? So that could be, 40 hours a month. It could be a couple hours a week. It varies. This is part of the process if we decide to explore.
That it is custom in the sense that if I'm just starting out with needing a COO, I don't have to take a big package.
Exactly.
A package. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it asks a series of questions that are really helping you understand, the entrepreneur, where are the gaps and where are the opportunities? And the gaps are where are there perhaps some challenges around team, some challenges around structure or process or systems. These are not difficult questions. These are questions that are very simple to answer because they're intuitively designed for the person to know immediately, this is something that's a block in my business, or this is something that I don't yet have, but I need to have help with. And then at the same time, as a result of that assessment, it will help you understand, do I need that level of support now? Or do I need somebody to come in and really focus more on operations? Or do I need somebody to help us focus more on marketing and sales? I want to get this new offering out there, or I need to really understand how I'm delivering this service. So it covers all the boxes in marketing, sales, operations, and finance, and finds out where the gaps are so you can get really clear. Is now the right time to bring on a fractional COO? If so, how much time and support would you need? As a result of that, we can decide if it's something that we can explore further.
You mentioned the example of somebody may not be ready for it, but conversely, you've got the person who's thinking, oh, I'm not ready for it. And meanwhile, this is exactly what they need. And they needed it like 2 years ago.
Yeah. And like you say, they don't know what they don't know, because perhaps usually at that point, they're at that level in their business where they're looking for another solution. Perhaps they feel that bringing on just another team member is not the right path forward. They need a strategic leader partnership in executing on their vision. That's what they really, really need. So that's what that assessment helps provide.
There is this video that I show our members of the leveraged business that I'll link in the show notes. It's about rocket fuel, where a business owner pairs up with second in command, such as yourself. That is the true rocket fuel for a business. Some people might think, oh, the business owner is supposed to be the one who runs the business. I have found in my own business and in coaching tens of thousands of women business owners, the one who has the big ideas, the one who is the high idea generator, who's got this big vision, is usually not the one to run the business. But it's
Yeah.
expensive to hire a full boat COO,
Yeah.
a full boat second in command. I hope that you watch this video as you're listening to this, because it'll give you in just about 4 minutes why it's so important when you're at a certain stage of your business to have that fractional second in command, but in an affordable way, in a
Yeah.
customizable way that allows you to scale your business if that's what you want, while getting your time back. So you
Yeah.
make more, do less. Derek, what is possible? What have you seen happen when somebody brings on a fractional COO? What are the results that they experience, not only in their business, but also their personal life? Would you share?
Well, you're a shining example.
Okay, start with me if you want.
But I say that in all truth, because I think if I talk about what I've done with Boldheart and what I've done with the other clients that I've worked with for the last several years and those that I'm working with now as part of the agency, it's giving them their time back. It's giving them their freedom back. I use the word freedom loosely because it's freedom for them to choose what they want to focus on and what they want to create in their business, as opposed to operating from a place of need. I need to do this in my business because I don't have anybody else, or I need to do this in this business because nobody else has the same way of thinking in order to get it done. I think what it usually does is it brings back a renewed interest of excitement and enthusiasm in the business, which usually generates more ideas and more strategies on how to execute on the vision. So it's interesting. What comes back is like, I want to do this. Now I want to do that. And I want to implement this. It's like, okay, great. We now have the framework to make that happen. We just need to reverse engineer, and perhaps we need some additional team members or resources to make that happen. But I think really it's that sense of freedom and that sense of excitement, because they found a partner in running their business. They also, I think perhaps they kind of breathe a big sigh of relief, realizing that they're actually not the one to run their business. When they find a partner that can help them run the business for them, they're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is amazing. I'm excited. I'm optimistic and I'm positive. All these things that kind of shift their mindset. So in a business sense, I think that's what's provided. But I think also from a quality of life perspective, I know I have one client in particular that I've worked with. He drastically changed his business model, where not only does he not work on nights and weekends anymore, but at the same time, they are enjoying like unplugged vacations. They are enjoying a team that operates on all cylinders, where they're very aligned on their responsibilities. They're accountable for what they own. They show up and get it done in a systematic way. So this individual has been able to kind of look outside the box and say, well, what else could I do? Because my business has now become more of a self-managing company, and they continue to grow it, but they're also looking at other interests and other passions outside of the business, because it just runs like a world machine. So it adds a lot of benefits, I think, for sure.
Your clients send you a text with pictures of being able to take unplugged
Yeah.
vacations with their families. That's really heartwarming. I want to share a pretty meaningful thing that happened a couple of years ago when, as you know, Derek, my father was ill last year, and I basically had to take a year off from working on a lot of extraneous stuff in the business. I was there for all the clients and the members
Yeah.
of Boldheart. I showed up for every meeting, every Q&A and all of that. But when it came to the other parts of the business, I needed to gain back many, even more hours than I work normally, to be able to go to the hospital, to be on with the doctors and all the care for my father. He would call me maybe 8 or 10 times a day. And I had to lean on my COO and the team. I remember having tears in my eyes and saying, thank you guys so much, because I can't get back this time with my dad, but I don't want the business to implode. You were there and you ran the business, not just because you were my husband, but because you were my trusted second in command, and everyone followed your lead and did great as a result.
I remember that. I'll say I did that. This doesn't negate the love and the compassion of what you were going through with your father at a very difficult time, but it was that dedication and commitment in my professional seat, if you will, to run the business on your behalf, to ensure that we were still moving things forward and giving you the time, the space, and the energy that you needed to have at that time to focus on something that was in some ways more important, of course, than the business, but being able to have the trust and the confidence that the business was still moving ahead. We were still growing. We were still expanding. Things were still ticking very, very well, even though you weren't involved at a time that you needed to be involved elsewhere. I did that out of my dedication and commitment to show up as I would expect a fractional COO in my mindset to show up. That's the same thing that I'm bringing now with the clients that I'm working with as part of this agency. Also with those fractional COOs that I'm grooming and bringing up in this way of doing things where they also think in that way, where they get the trust that's been bestowed upon them from the client and as a result of the work in my agency from me. They take that very seriously because they know that they're there to provide that stability. They're providing that foundation. They're providing that rock, if you will, to, yes, scale, grow, leverage, expand the business. Fantastic. Also, if need be, take time away from the business or take time for yourself for whatever reason and not feeling like you have to choose between one or the other.
I want to say one more thing is I really appreciate that as a man, that other than a client here or there that of yours that have been male, you have worked almost exclusively with women as your clients. And you have been for 16 years surrounded by visionary women entrepreneurs. There are, oh gosh, there's so much I could say. There are so many values and attributes that you have that support the feminine. That you really believe, I don't mean to cry, that you really believe in women succeeding in business, having a voice and a choice. And you're not one of those guys who says, nah, don't take a spa day, work harder. I've never been that way with me, and certainly not your other clients. What is it that you believe about women in business and why you help them grow?
Is that another episode?
Maybe it is.
Well, I mean, I've learned that from you firsthand. I've learned that watching you, being with you, learning from you, we're very different. We're wired differently. I think if I could summarize what I now know after doing this for 16 years with you and other women entrepreneurial clients that I've been a part of, is that my way of thinking, my way of doing doesn't mean that it's their way of thinking and their way of doing. I can't show up, expect to be in a business and have them do things in my way of doing things. There's this understanding, there's this level of compassion and just being aware. That's nature. That's how things are. Being able to work within that, knowing that if it creates a different environment for them to succeed and for them to get the result, knowing that I can't show up and do what I do every day in the way that I do it because it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. I know in the very beginning, we didn't know that. We didn't know that about each other. We didn't know that about the business, but I know that now. Being able, I think you say it brilliantly, which I love. I love being able to provide that, like that string to that couch, that string to that kite, but also to create that container, that space for that collaboration and for that ideation to come to fruition, however way it comes to fruition. And I know that that's not linear. That's not like do this, then do this, then do this. That may be the way my brain works, but I know it's not the way that your brain works. I honor that. I respect that. When I know that that's how it is, please take this right. Now that I have that awareness, I can use that in a way of growing as opposed to coming in and expecting it to be done my way or the highway. That's not the case. That's where it's like a recipe for conflict.
I really appreciate that. As a man in this role, working with women in their businesses, you're not a bulldozer. You're not trying to turn everybody, you're not trying to turn all these women business owners into masculine versions of themselves. You are honoring
Yes.
feminine, but bringing that structure for that entrepreneurial nature that we have, a way that is a complement and not trying to crush the way that we are naturally wired and the way
Exactly.
we do business. Really appreciate the way that you approach business that way.
And thank you.
There are women who are listening to this and are saying, you know what? I may be that person that they're talking about. I'm working evenings, weekends. I can't grow the business because I'm putting fires out. I'm definitely at six figures, multiple six figures. I may even be at seven figures. I didn't think that I needed somebody to run my business with me. By the way, every single woman that I've taken to 1 million in her business within Boldheart, 100% of them have had a fractional COO or second in command in place. I believe you cannot do it without it. So if there is this woman who's thinking, oh my gosh, am I ready? How do I know? What's her next step? What should she do?
The next step is just first acknowledge that you're aware that you may need some additional guidance and support. Then at that assessment is now the right time to perhaps bring on a fractional COO. You could go to the coosolution.com, fill it out, and then let's have a conversation and see how we could help. I think for a long time, so many people have said, I need a Derek, right? Well, now,
I have heard I need a Derek literally 50 to 100 times
yeah.
in my life.
Well, now you can have one, as you say, as you always say, not my Derek, but you can have a Derek. I have others that do this work and do it really, really well, that are serving these clients in this way. As you said, it's significantly more affordable than what I was offering before when it was just myself. I'm excited to be able to do that because I know that there are so many out there that need this type of support. So start with the assessment, get really clear if now is the right time for seeking some of that fractional COO support. Again, it could be a varied scale depending upon like where you are and where you want to be and how much time you want in order to move that. But let's have that conversation after that assessment. If it makes sense, like I say, if it makes sense, great. We'd love to help. And if it doesn't make sense for whatever reason for now, that's fine too. I realize that we're not the solution for everybody, but for those that want that solution, we're more than happy to step in and help.
I really appreciate that you're not a strong arming kind of person. I know that sometimes women, I'll speak for myself, doesn't want to get in certain conversations because I don't want to be bulldozed or talked into doing something. I really appreciate that you have so much integrity and you'll tell somebody, you know what, this isn't right for you. Or you know what, this is right for you.
For sure.
It feels safe. It's like the trust that shows up. Always. Derek, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us. I think that what you do is incredible for women business owners. You create that structure for our entrepreneurial nature. You help us to scale and grow while still staying feminine, while still allowing us to be with our kids, to have more time off, and to make a real impact in the world. Thank you so much for what you've done for me and so many of our clients in the past. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Oh, thank you. I just want to take a moment and just, again, honor the fact that I wouldn't be here doing this in this way without your coaching, support, love, and championing me to step out and doing what I want to do in a bigger way. And I know that you do that for thousands and thousands of others. To be able to receive that firsthand from you and embarking on this and doing this work now that is my calling, I'm very grateful and very appreciative. So thank you to you as well.
You're welcome. You are my favorite person in the world.
Me too.
Thanks everybody for joining us.
I'll see you tonight for dinner.
We'll see you all tonight for dinner.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.